Okay, so let's talk about a new kind of cyber threat. I want you to imagine an intruder who doesn't kick down your door. Instead, they quietly pick the lock, slip inside, and start living in your house, using your own tools, your own appliances, basically becoming a ghost that you never even know is there. Well, that's exactly what's happening right now inside some of our most critical digital networks.
The whole strategy behind this is a technique called living off the land, or you'll see it called LOTL. The idea is as simple as it is brilliant. Why bring in your own suspicious, custom-made malware that could trip an alarm? Instead, these attackers just use the legitimate tools and software that are already installed on their target system. They just blend right in, making it almost impossible to tell the difference between their malicious activity and a normal day at the office.
Now, before we dive deeper, I want to be clear where this information is coming from. Our breakdown today is based on some really in-depth analysis from cybersecurity authorities like the U.S.'s Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, that's CISA, and the nonprofit research group MITRE. We're also pulling from detailed reporting by the Hacker News. These are the folks on the front lines mapping out these new digital threats. All right, so let's put some names to these ghost actors. We're going to focus on two incredibly sophisticated groups with known ties to the People's Republic of China, groups that have basically perfected this stealthy approach. One is called UAT-7290, and the other is the now infamous Typhoon.
So while both of these are state-sponsored groups, you'll see they have very different missions. UAT-1790, they're all about espionage and getting that initial foothold. They burrow deep into telecommunications networks to steal information. Typhoon, though, they're playing a much longer, much scarier game. They're infiltrating critical U.S. infrastructure, not just to spy, but to get everything ready for a day when they might get the order to shut things down.
So the big question is, how on earth do these groups operate, sometimes for years, without setting off a single alarm? Well, it all comes down to an almost fanatical obsession with stealth. And this isn't just one single trick, it's a whole operational mindset. Like we said, they live off the land, using your own system's tools against you. They don't need to keep hacking in if they can just steal legitimate admin passwords. A lot of what they do is manual. It's called hands-on keyboard activity, which makes it look just like a real system administrator doing their job. And when they're done, they clean up meticulously. They use a standard Windows utility called weavetool.exe to erase specific log entries so no one sees their tracks. They even disguise stolen data by, say, renaming a database backup with a .gif extension, hoping nobody takes a closer look. And this right here, this is Typhoon's secret sauce for staying inside a network. I mean, think about it. Why would you bother building a complicated, custom backdoor that might get discovered by antivirus software when you can just steal the keys to the front door? By using valid, stolen accounts, their every move looks completely legitimate to any security software that's watching. So once they're in, their first move isn't to start stealing data or breaking things. No, their first move is to learn. They launched this extensive reconnaissance campaign to map out every single corner of the network they've just breached. It's just like a military scout mapping out enemy territory before the main force moves in. Let's actually walk through their playbook and look at the actual commands they're using. What's so wild is that every single one of these looks exactly like something a normal, everyday IT administrator would do. They'll start with something super basic, ipconfig. This just gives them the network configuration of the machine they're on, their first foothold to get their bearings. From there, they immediately start looking for the keys to the kingdom. This command, netgroup domain admins /dom, it lists every single user who has the highest level of privileges across the entire network. These accounts are pure gold to them. Okay, now they know who the most powerful users are. Next, using netstat-ANO, they map out every single active connection going to and from that computer. This lets them see how data flows and helps them identify other important servers to target. And finally, they come back to that tool we just saw, weavetool.exe, but this time they're not just using it to clean up their tracks, they're using it to search through security logs for any records of successful logins. It's a clever way to find even more active accounts and systems to go after. So while Typhoon is all about those built-in Windows tools, UAT-7290 takes a slightly different approach, especially on Linux systems. They bring in a whole custom toolkit designed to work together in a chain. Rushdrop gets the infection started, Drive Switch kicks off the main payload, Silent Raid gives them that long-term access.
And ball butcher, well, that one has a very special purpose we're about to get to.
And this is where things get really, really sophisticated. These groups don't just hide inside a network. They actually take over parts of that network and transform them into their own secret infrastructure. They're building a ghost network right under everyone's noses. Remember that Bulbature backdoor from UAT-7290? Well, its whole job is to turn compromised devices, especially things like internet-facing routers, into something they call an operational relay box, or an ORB. These orbs become hidden waypoints for their traffic, making it look like their attacks are coming from a legitimate, trusted source inside the network. And this just brilliantly highlights their whole strategy. According to Cisco Talos, UAT-7290 uses this orb network for its own spy missions, but they might also be providing access to this hidden infrastructure to other hacking groups linked to China. So get this, they aren't just hackers. They're acting as infrastructure providers for other threat actors.
Volt Typhoon takes this whole concept and dials it up to 11. They create what's called a multi-hop proxy. So their traffic starts at its true origin, gets bounced to a compromised server somewhere else, and from there, it's relayed through a whole botnet of hacked small office and home office routers. The layering makes tracing the attack back to them a total nightmare.
So how do they actually build this internal web? You guessed it, they're living off the land again. They use a perfectly legitimate built-in Windows command, NetSheet port proxy, to turn the servers they've compromised into internal relays. It lets them forward their traffic from one machine to another, all inside the victim's own secure perimeter. It is the ultimate disguise. So we've seen the how, all this incredible effort to get stealthy, long-term access and build these hidden networks, but why? What is the actual end goal here? What are they really after? And this is really the most important difference between these two groups. For UAT-7290, the goal is classic espionage. Stay hidden and quietly siphon off valuable data from telecom companies. But Volt Typhoon's mission, that's far more alarming. They are pre-positioning assets. It's like they're planting digital explosives inside critical infrastructure, just waiting for the day they might be told to flip the switch. And just to be crystal clear, we are talking about the systems that control our daily lives. Volt Typhoon has been found in communications, energy, transportation, and water systems. And here's the really scary part. They aren't just sitting in the front office IT networks. Intelligence agencies have confirmed they are actively trying to jump from those IT networks into the operational technology, the OT networks. Those are the systems that physically control the switches, the valves, and the circuit breakers. By living off the land, by turning our own infrastructure against us, these actors are totally changing the rules of cyber conflict. They are quite literally ghosts in our machines. And that leaves us with a really critical question. As they get better and better at being invisible, where will these ghosts decide to strike next? If this breakdown helped you understand these invisible threats that are hiding inside our digital world, do us a favor and hit subscribe and like. It genuinely helps us continue making deep dives like this one. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.